Receptions is a banquet hall blending classic charm with modern elegance. Located in Pierrefonds in the Greater Montreal area for over 30 years, Casa Reception offers 6 beautifully renovated private halls accommodating 40 to 200 guests comfortably. For more information, you can visit them at casareceptions.ca.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Wedding Chimes with Val. I'm Val. Today's topic, that we're going to be discussing is TikTok trends and how real are they actually in the wedding world, if that makes sense. As you know, TikTok is a very popular platform when it comes to wedding planning. You know, you see all ideas, everything from everywhere in the world. Anyone that creates a TikTok account could post anything they want. And that's when it gets dangerous when it comes to not dangerous, just to be cautious when planning a wedding, because anyone and everyone can post anything on TikTok, right, about wedding planning. And it doesn't mean it's necessarily true, right, the misinformation and everything like that, right? So TikTok, I used to have a TikTok account and I kind of deleted it because as a wedding planner, I felt that TikTok, all these TikTokers that automatically claimed that they were an expert, a pro in wedding planning, were sometimes giving misleading information to the viewers of their content, right? And again, like any social media platform, as we spoke before many times, to be cautious, right? But I find TikTok, it's a video and it's a TikTok longer content, right? Example, Pinterest board or even Instagram, it's just a photo, right? Or a mini snippet, right? But TikTok is a longer, sometimes video, right? Promoting something or giving misleading information. And when it comes to wedding planning, as you all know, there's a lot of stuff out there. You have to be cautious of what information you believe and what information you take with a grain of salt, right? And as a wedding planner, I had clients, my past couples before, oh, look what's on TikTok, what's on TikTok, what's on TikTok. And I'm like, that's great. Use TikTok as a tool, but don't try to copy and paste that because you don't know where this TikToker from. You don't know if the information is factual, right? And you don't know if you could actually translate what they're saying to actual stuff for your wedding, right? So be cautious when it comes to TikTok. Because recently I've noticed a spike of my clients saying, oh, TikToks, that's why I'm telling you guys to stay safe out there, because TikTok is great, but at the same time to be careful. And, that's really it. And to go deeper, especially all these trends on TikTok to have at your wedding and everything, it's a lot, so be careful out there, and I guess from my perspective of a wedding planner, I'm guilty. I like seeing TikToks what's out there, the trends, what are people looking for, so I could better my experience for my clients, right? From my point of view, but I know if something can be done realistically or it's just a trend, right? So you have to give and take, right? When it comes to planning your wedding, to be like, hey, this is great, or you know what? I'll take a step back and maybe consider it, maybe, depending on a lot of stuff, right? But I think, TikTok, one thing I think that's one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to TikTok creators is that, like I mentioned before, they claim they're an expert. They claim that they're a wedding planner, and that's the dangerous part, because I've seen a lot of creators on TikTok claim that they're a wedding planner, but yet if you actually do some background info and check them out, they're just an average person that maybe helped a family friend plan a wedding, and then that automatically makes them a wedding planner. And it doesn't really work like that. To be a wedding planner, there's much more than that, than just planning someone's wedding and claiming they're a planner, right? And as we spoke before, look at credentials, look at everything, and you go from there, right? Experience, knowledge is more than just a TikTok creator claiming they're a wedding planner, right? Sometimes they give good ideas, which is great that you could actually incorporate in your wedding, but sometimes just keep on scrolling, because depending where you live and what's available to you, because they might be posting from another country. That may be something where you're living is not actually doable. Get it? So that's what I'm saying. Always proceed with caution with TikTok. I'm not hating on TikTok. I'm just saying be careful out there on the TikTok verse or the wed talk or whatever they call it. I don't even know anymore. But another thing with TikTok that I noticed too is that they're a trendsetter, which is great. They're predicting trends for weddings for, let's say, 2026, 2027, which is good, which is great. And I kind of encourage my clients to go see what's out there to bring to their wedding, but to start copying and pasting it could be a little tricky, right? Because the vendors here where you live might not be the vendors where they live, right? So keep that in mind too, because I always say, yes, take from another creator and make it your own. It's just easier that way. Instead of going on TikTok looking, saying, I must create a seating chart, but yet you never made a seating chart before, right? And with TikTok too, you have to be careful because a lot of these quote unquote creators are DIYers. And we spoke about DIY weddings. It could be great if you have the time to do it, but if you don't start feeling overwhelmed. Just because TikTok says you could do something for your wedding doesn't mean you can actually do it. Because if you think about it, okay, these creators, these TikTokers for wed talk or whatever you call it now, this is what they do for most of the time. It's what they do for their living. They create content. I could be wrong, but they create content for views saying, sure, let's build a seating chart, a elaborate seating chart with mirrors and this and that and interactive buttons. But this is what they do day in and day out. But for someone that has a full-time job or whatever the case is that might not have the time as these creators, it could be very challenging. That's what I'm trying to say. And then you, as a bride or groom, feel pressured to compete with TikTok. And I've seen it many times on social media that not my clients, but couples planning their wedding on these wedding planning groups saying, well, on TikTok I saw this and that and I have to do it or else my wedding might not be as good as TikTok. Who cares about TikTok? Like, to be honest, it's your wedding and you do it what's best for you at the end of the day, right? And that's the thing that I'm trying to, I guess, get through this podcast is that don't feel the pressure from wed talk or wedding TikTok, whatever, you take it saying, hey, this is a great deal. Let me see if I can actually do it. Or can I DIY it? Can I rent it? Can I buy on Amazon, right? Most of my clients I worked with, we get everything from rental companies around here or where you're from. Amazon is great too. Amazon, you'd be surprised, they're actually really stepping up their game, I noticed, which is really really good, or if you know a friend that could DIY something great, use what you have around you, but don't, like I said, feel the pressure from TikTok, and I'm not bashing on TikTok. TikTok can be great, but at the same time, when it comes to wedding, I find there's a lot of indirect pressure from the creators creating stuff for content, right? Because that's what they do. They create content and then you're caught up in it, and as a planner, like I said, I don't have the app anymore because for me I felt it was very toxic. I felt like I was an awful wedding planner at one point. I'm like, I should be doing this, but then I'm like, Val, you know what you're doing. Your clients trust you. And then I was good, but I felt it was a very toxic wed talk. Could be very toxic. You start going down a rabbit hole thinking, oh, I could do this, I could create this, I could do this, I could take over everything. In reality, you really can't. There's limits to what you could do and not do, right? That's another thing, limits. Like, know your boundaries, know where you stand on certain things. Because TikTok will make you think that you could do everything for your wedding. It'll make you think you don't need this, you don't need that, you don't need this. Hey, if you feel you could do it, by all means do it. But don't get influenced by TikTok in the wrong way. Be inspired, saying, hey, I love this idea. Let me see how I could do it. Let me learn more about it. Let's say if you want to start writing your escort cards, right? For the seating plan where all your guests are going to be sitting, you're going to learn calligraphy. Great. That's maybe something doable, right? If you have the time and you're going to learn how to do calligraphy nicely, go for it. That can be done, but don't start building an art here and this and that and creating a DIY disaster, right? As we spoke many times, that DIY can be good or DIY could really be disastrous, and you don't want that, right? That's another thing too, right? I'm just saying, you have to take it with a grain of salt. You really have to take it with a grain of salt and be like, hey, TikTok, and why I'm bringing up TikTok again, might sound like a bad guy, because I find Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook is not as intense as TikTok. Yes, it's pictures and it's a picture, right? Or a reel or whatever story. It's not as intense as TikTok, I find. But that's just my opinion. What else I want to say about TikTok? Yes, TikTok is it's a very interesting place. It's good, and there's a good and a bad, right? As any other platform, but I find TikTok can be very intense and influence couples, that just started, that just got engaged, and all of a sudden they think they have to do certain things, which is not necessarily true. And that's why I always say hire a wedding planner or hire a partial wedding planner, because it's our job to help you decipher, that's the word I'm looking for, decipher all these trends and what can be done, and make your own, do your own thing. At the end of the day, like we always say, make your wedding special to you. If you love a certain theme, if you love a certain look, if you have the budget and time and a lot of things into consideration, it can be done. And then you could post on TikTok your wedding. There we go. If you're a TikToker, if you like to do that stuff, But I do find that it is kind of taking over. Some people say TikTok is dead, but I see Wed Talk. I see it. I don't have the app, but I just go to see what's happening on that platform, and I'm like, oh boy. But I think overall, be cautious, be careful. I've seen great things on TikTok. The positive, I've seen great innovative things that I didn't think of, like that's actually genius. Like, let me see how I could interpret this for my clients, for my couples I'm working with, or give them ideas. I'm guilty of that too, saying, well, hey, look at this TikTok. What do you think? We can maybe, instead of do this and that, we could incorporate like this and this during cocktail hour, right? And because some trends that I've seen emerge here in Montreal, but it depends where you're from, tuning into this podcast, that I took and, many people took and made it their own. Like I remember, I don't know if it's really popular now, I could be wrong, but the champagne wall where you ring, it says ring for champagne, and someone with a glove from the venue gives you a glass of champagne for cocktail hour. I've seen that trend a million times on TikTok, and I do believe it did start on TikTok. I could be wrong, but you know what I mean? Because a lot of people take that trend and make their own, add this, add that, and I think that's the thing that I'm trying to get to, is that take it, but make it your own. And if your budget permits to do it, and your venue too, I forgot, make sure your venue allows you to do all these things too, because some venues, as we spoke many times before, have rules, regulations. You can't do this, you can't do that, but you could do this and that. So always ask your venue if they're okay to do these things. Example, another thing on TikTok I've been seeing is all of a sudden these I don't even know where they're from, but they're saying, oh, we want fireworks on TikTok, we want fireworks for our grant, like for our first dance, whatever, at the end of the night. Yes, if your venue does it and you have the space to do it and the rules, make sure you get permission from the city, whatever, you could do it. But here, depends where you're from. Maybe you can't do it, right? So you have to look at that too. And I know, you know, brides to be's, groom to be's, anyone helping plan the wedding for the couple, they feel the pressure, and you want to feel like you're part of it. Like, hey, we're part of the trend, which is fine. But at the end of the day, as a wedding planner, I'm telling you, some trends will not age well with your wedding. Like, if you look back at pictures, you'll know it's from a certain time, right? And I'm guilty, of saying for couples, oh, get a photo booth, get this, get that, which is fine because it's the time. Like, it's still, some things are in, the audio guest book is in, this is in, that's in the glow sticks. I think they're dying a bit, the trend, but I could be wrong. Like, every year you don't, like, as a planner, I always predict, like, okay, this is gonna still make it, but maybe not that. Maybe this trend, maybe that trend, so a lot of trends just creep up slowly. I'm like, oh, okay, like this is great, you know. But like I said, TikTok will make you believe anything, saying this is the best thing you need for your wedding, or else your wedding will suck. I've seen creators say that actually, like if you don't have this and this and this, or read more in description, your wedding will not be good and your guests will have a boring time. And it's like, come on, it's your day. Try to enjoy. Don't try to create a trend. Hey, if you do, that's I guess okay too. But at the same time, we take from these creators, these TikTokers, right? And we just go from there, like with the trends for the weddings. I find personally, like when it comes to weddings, these TikTokers are more intense, right? Because there's always someone getting married that's looking at wed talk, right? For other things, maybe not. I could be wrong because I only look at the wedding TikTok, you know, but I could be wrong, you know. And I think that's why it's important to always take it with a grain of salt and be like, hey, you know what? I like this trend. Example, the seating chart, to build your own seating chart. Hey, if you could do it and you have the means to do it and you know the skills, fine. But then don't be upset and disappointed when it doesn't work out. Because I'm telling you, wedding planning goes by so fast. Like you give yourself, you know, enough buffer time and everything, but it flies by. And don't forget too, there's other things you need to plan too besides the decor and the look, right? There's a lot of other things. So that's why I'm saying, like, if you like something, start early with the DIY. If you start, okay, hypothetically, you get engaged, yay, everyone's happy, woohoo, you're engaged, you start planning, you start going on TikTok, right? It's like, oh, look at this, or it's on your feed, you know, and you like something, start it right away. Seriously, start it right away. So when you get closer, like to the wedding planning, you start the big things, the venue, the this, the that. You already start a DIY project, and you could tweak it based on certain stuff like the venue, the time of year, the theme, right? You can always go from there. That's how I see it, you know. Start small. Like I always say, if you're DIYing or you're looking at TikTok, and remember too, TikTok, it doesn't give you like a tutorial. They just show a TikTok like, oh, look what we did, look where we started. Some creators do. Some TikTokers give you a tutorial saying this is how I did it, break it down, which is actually really good. So you could like copy them and tweak it where needed. But some don't. So it's like they're showing you something and like you're at home on your phone scrolling, saying, well, how am I supposed to do this? Or you look where you live, if a rental company has it, maybe they do, maybe they don't, right? Because remember, rental companies, same as planners, same as other vendors, are trying to figure out the trends, what works, what doesn't work. So they rotate their inventory and everything. So speaking about rental companies, how do I say it? It's good to check it out too, where you, depending where you live, right? It's good to say, to call them saying, hey, rental company, I'm looking for this and that I saw online TikTok. Do you have something similar? Are you gonna be getting something new, right? Like to just look at that, you know, because that's important to ask before you start buying everything and investing half your time. You know, you're working, let's say full time or whatever, and you're trying to DIY something from TikTok for your wedding. And you have other things to plan too, by the way. You know, so I always say just, and I said this a lot, but just be careful. Just trust me on this when it comes to TikTok. Again, I don't hate TikTok. It's a great tool if you know how to use it. But I remember one of my past brides I had was a few years back. She sent me like 5 TikToks a day saying I saw this on TikTok, and I'm like, great. How do you want to incorporate it? And some things we did incorporate. We were able to incorporate what she saw, but tweak it. But some I'm like, you can't, like I told her, like, this can't be done. Like, realistically, at the venue, this and that, it can't be done. And at one point, I told her she had to kind of not go on TikTok as often because it was like really affecting the wedding planning process. And she loves TikTok, which is great, you know. But at the end, the wedding was beautiful. I couldn't say anything, you know. But I'm just saying, be careful with TikTok because as you're planning a wedding, you might feel pressured or saying, I have to have this look. This is the look of 2026. You know, was it Cloud Dancer? I think Pantone said. If you follow that, it's like the unofficial color of the year. Pantone thing called Cloud Dancer. It's like a whitish, like a creamy white color, which is great. So guess what's gonna be all over TikTok? Pantone color of the year. Cloud Dancer, I think, which is great. If you follow the trend, is good, and I kind of guilty of it too, But I'm just saying, don't let it take over your wedding planning. Don't be so obsessed with TikTok for your wedding, saying, I must do this because TikTok said so. I must get these thank you gifts because TikTok said so. And when I see a bride like that, I tell her, take a step back, or a groom, take a step back from TikTok, delete the app, like seriously, delete it, and actually do what you want. Because at the end of the day, those TikTokers, that's what they do for a living. They create content, and remember, they need content, right? But this is your wedding. It's once in a lifetime. Do it how you want. Spend the money how you want if you can. Don't spend the money for certain things. If you say, I love this venue, great. Go for it. Nothing's stopping you. You want this decor. Great. You want a vintage look. You want a Hollywood look. You want a Disney look. Go for it. It's literally your wedding. And I know on this podcast we always say that, but seriously, that's sometimes what people need to hear. Especially bride and grooms that are in the crux of wedding planning where it's getting a lot and overwhelming. It's good just to take a step back saying, hey, you know what? This is how I want things done. Whatever. Go for it. Forget TikTok for a second. Yes, use it as an inspiration, but don't go so crazy and be like, hey, TikTok, you're at it like 24/7 a day. You're always looking at TikTok. And also, too, when it comes to TikTok, I forgot to mention this too. Your bridal party, your wedding party, they'll send you cute things because they're excited for you, which makes sense. But if you have to tell them to stop to send you things from TikTok just because you need a break from TikTok, tell them saying, hey girls or whatever, hey guys, stop sending me things on TikTok for a little bit because it's becoming, just be honest with them too and they'll get the picture because it is a lot of, they're sending you things from TikTok and you're looking at TikTok. Yeah, you're going to be all TikToked out, right, for wedding planning, and then you'll feel overwhelmed, you'll feel pressure, you'll start looking at DIY things, you'll start going crazy. Don't. I think that's the best advice I could give because I know TikTok is still there. It's going to be there. I don't know for how long. Will the trend die? I don't know. I don't know these things. But I'm telling you, especially with TikTok, just kind of proceed with caution, because at the end of the day, it's your day. Like we always say, it's your wedding. It's your day. You do you. Whatever makes sense to you and your partner planning the wedding, and I think that's about it for this podcast. That's already really quick. Anyways, thank you for always tuning in and for listening to the latest advice and information. And I guess have a great rest of your day, evening, depending where you're chiming in from. And I guess that's about it. Okay.